I've had to make unpopular parenting choices because at the end of the day, it's kind of what works best for each family.
Mm.
Not only culturally where they live, whatever their belief structure is, whatever family structure is. And honestly, kids are different. I have three of them. Each of them, I have different standards that I have to raise around them because they're different little people. And so sometimes a parenting choice I make with one, like my oldest, is normally he's a little bit more trust. I can trust him with more
Mm.
versus my middle. She's a little bit of a spunk. I have a little bit more of a guard around her because she's more likely to make bad choices. And so even just within the same like structure, family beliefs, I have to parent them and make choices for them differently because they are different.
So, and maybe this may be partially like an age related thing, but because you are maybe creating different structures or rules depending on the kid, is that a conversation you have with them about why that's in place, or is that just kind of like, maybe that conversation will come up when they're older? What does the communication look like for those different kind of rules?
They are aware of them. Normally, they get the yes, but he's older, or but he has showed mom that I can trust him with that,
Mm.
and just they explaining it to them in a way that makes sense instead of just because I said so.
Yeah.
Seems to help the kids understand better about why I'm making those choices. Well, you've made bad choices before, so I can't let you just pick whatever show you want because you've picked out shows that aren't appropriate.
Mm.
And then there's a sense of the ultimate. I don't know where kids get it from. Maybe it's just a parent thing too, on how they raise kids. But there's this sense of fairness within the decision that's made. So like what Amanda just brought up, it's like, well, that's not fair. And uh, trying to be able to explain to a child that fairness is not really a thing. Like we strive for fairness. We always try to like, hey, everybody gets equal amounts of ice cream, but then there's certain aspects of trying to help them understand if they're younger or older of like, hey, that's just not going to happen right now. And being able to sit down and have a conversation with them about it, that they'll see there's grayness. It's not always black and white, but there's grayness in the midst of, hey, we're going to strive for fairness in these certain areas, but there's going to be times where, yes, I'm going to have to be unpopular by saying this is just what makes the most sense right now. And you have to trust me, and we're going to work with it, and not everything's fair.
You mentioned the phrase like, "Oh, so and so is allowed to do this," right? And I'm sure it's a lot of time that's related to, I think, in the family that I think the fairness thing makes a lot of sense, and you're parenting each kid differently. I have to imagine maybe it's a little bit more challenging when it's a kid talking about their friend, like they're allowed to watch these types of movies, or they're allowed to have a phone, or whatever their kind of example is thinking of the right way to word this question, but some of the times those things are like age based, right? I'm sure, but other times it may just be simple, like, hey, this isn't a thing our family is going to value. Like,
Mm.
how do you navigate and be okay with those decisions, or slash make those unpopular decisions?
You want that one, Amanda?
Sure. The so and so one I just had was actually about bedtimes. And so give me a second. I'll get back to your question. So my son brought up, hey, my friends get to stay up later. They get to stay up till 8:30, 9, 10. I said, yeah. I go, well, we have a bedtime strict at 7:30. I'm like, you've stayed up later than that. How do you feel in the morning when I have to wake you up for school? And he goes, tired. I'm like, how do you think your friends feel when they stay up later than that and get up early for school in the morning? And he goes, really tired? Like, you can stay up that late if you want to, but you have to get up in the morning to go to school. Which one would you rather have? Now he's grumpy in the morning, so he was like, I need my food. But there's that these, especially certain ages, these kids, we're trying to raise them to be their own person, having conversations, putting it in their territory. Well, why do you think that is? How do they react when they watch that movie? That kind of stuff. And I've had that come up with scary movies. My son has talked to me about how his friends have searched for the Squid Game and all the scary movies. Personally, I'm not a scary movie fan. I'm a chicken. I don't like them. But I've asked him, like, how does that make you feel? And he goes, it's kind of weird. He's like, I don't know if I want to watch them. Like, just because somebody is doing it doesn't mean they necessarily want to. They might be asking, well, why? They're old enough to start kind of formulating their opinions on stuff. Give them the surrounding and the structure to try to make that decision for themselves. Because for the most part, they're just trying to see why do we have this rule? Or, well, why do you not let me do this? Without understanding that it might have been a well thought out process. Well, because if you watch that scary movie, you're going to be coming into my bed in the middle of the night because you got scared because you had a dream. Yeah. Versus you can't watch a scary movie because I said so.
How much of that is also equipping them to be able to go against like the idea, like, oh, all my friends are doing it, so I'm sure there's part of that conversation too. Like, just because your friends do it doesn't mean it's a great decision for you.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Definitely. To add on to that though too is having them think through it on their own. Yeah, because like you're gonna have that conversation of a friend always having it, but what Amanda was leading in there too is just answering the question with a question, a very Jesus-like thing to do. But which just promotes conversation with them. It's because, like you said, you're raising little mini adults, and if we don't start treating them like they're growing up and we just treat them like they're kids, we want them to think through the process. Like she said, hey, what do you think so-and-so's parent? Why do you think so-and-so's parents would allow them to do it? And thinking through that, like, so going back to just give you a little mini story here, going back to the aspect of talking about the shows that people watch and the movies that they get to watch. And, my daughter already telling me like, oh yeah, so many of my friends have seen Stranger Things. Awesome show, by the way, but not for 3rd to 5th graders, but so many have seen it. And that's what I would say. And this is not a judgmental thing for people that have allowed their kids to see it and that they watch it with them. But part of what I did is I know like my son. And so we had like a guy's night to watch a movie and he's like, hey, what's Venom all about? Like because he's a big Marvel fan and just loves, and we looked and we're like, he's like, oh, it's PG-13. I probably shouldn't watch that, should I? And I'm like, well, I'm going to let you read the description and why it's rated PG-13. And then you can decide what you think. And then so it said scary jump out scene, and he's like, oh no, I shouldn't watch that. And he's like in bad language, he's like, no, I definitely shouldn't watch that. And so because he knew, I think I talked about this on a podcast before, is we created family values for ourselves at the start of who we're going to be as the Weiler family. And a part of that is knowing that, like, how do we continue to be respectful to others and yet still respect their decisions, even if we don't do that, so we don't come off judgmental and we don't and a part of that is like, hey, I know my friends are watching these. I might feel a little left out, but I also know a little bit more about myself. And the great thing about Elijah, he's so self-aware of himself. Like he can point out things that he's like, you know what, I probably shouldn't do that because I will probably get to this point. Ella is a different story. She, she knows what she wants, but she's like, might just run into it a little bit quicker and be like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. And she thinks through those things. So I don't know if that was helping answer your question on that.
Well, I think that also goes back to some of what Amanda was sharing about how, her oldest has earned certain trust elements, right? So where with one kid, you might be like, even if you read the description, you're like, no, I can still watch this. It's like, well, you've kind of proven maybe you don't have that trust